All right, and I think we're gonna go ahead and get started and just allow folks to continue to trickle in. But again, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening. We plan to make very good use of that time. And as you know, we are here to talk all things Democracy Summer, which is VPIRG's new summer campaign and Canvass operation. So as you see here in the logo, we've got one activist with a clipboard to symbolize our work at the door, and an activist with a megaphone to symbolize our work organizing at community events. Of course, there is so much more to be said, and we will get into all of that very, very soon. But first, here is the agenda for our session this evening, which will include staff introductions, background context, and the thinking behind our new campaign, summer canvas and campaign updates, opportunities to take action, and of course, some time for questions and feedback at the end. So the Q&A function should be available to you at all times, so please feel free to pop questions, comments, ideas in that Q&A box at any time, and my colleague Josh will share them at the end. But speaking of colleagues, we should cover some staff introductions. So my name is Jordan Heiden. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Democracy Summer Campaign Director. I have been with VPIRG now for 3.5 years, initially managing the Keep Vermont Cool Climate Action campaign, which allowed me to organize efforts both in and out of the State House. So now I am pivoting to our next exciting effort, which you will all be learning about very shortly. But for now, I'll pass it over to my colleague, Josh Ferguson, VPIRG's Canvass Director.
Good evening, everybody. As Jordan said, my name is Josh. I am the Canvass Director of the 2025 VPIRG Democracy Summer Canvass efforts. And I'm just super stoked to be here. I've been a fellow with VPIRG, part of their fellowship program for the past 2 years, and I've been blessed with the opportunity to learn from the best when it comes to grassroots engagement, statewide advocacy, and bringing power to the people. So I'm excited to be here, and I'll pass it over to Paul.
Thanks so much, Josh and Jordan. My name is Paul Burns. I'm the Executive Director of VPIRG, and I have been with VPIRG for about 24.5 years. It's just finishing my 25th legislative session with VPIRG, which seems incredible, but really excited. We got a fantastic team, just a great group of people who are working full-time and also on the summer canvas. And so again, we're really thrilled to talk with you a little bit more about that tonight. So thanks for being here.
And thank you, Paul. So that's a little bit about us. And actually, I'm going to pass it back over to you now, Paul, to tell us how the heck we got here and what we plan to do about it.
That's great. Well, how did we get here? Well, here is a little bit of information that you probably all see too much of already. These are just a glimpse of some of the recent headlines in news articles as a reminder of some of what we're dealing with at this time. Let's move to the next. This really is an unprecedented time. I know maybe won't leave that up all that long, but we'll leave it for a moment here just to remind folks this really is an unprecedented time. You know, next year we should be celebrating the 250th anniversary of our experiment in democracy, and it really feels like, and I believe this is true, that certainly no time in modern history has our democracy been under threat as it is right now. And I've never felt this way before. I've been around now quite a while, and this does feel different. And there are some examples of why. I think we've never had a convicted felon serving as president who hired the world's richest man to cut off food and medicine to starving children in places around the world. We've never had a president who has attacked our allies and cozied up to dictators like this president does. We've never had a Congress that has so willingly given over its authority and responsibility to the executive branch. This week, Donald Trump's allies in Congress endorsed steep cuts in aid for the elderly, the poor, and the disabled in order to pay for tax cuts for billionaires. The Trump family has accumulated wealth like we've never seen before. Their family's net worth has increased by $3 billion in the first 100 days of his presidency. And let's not forget the president is now talking about accepting a gift of a $400 million airplane to replace Air Force One from a foreign nation that he has been visiting in the last hours of Qatar. That's just a partial list again, I know you all know that and many more things, but it seems that Donald Trump and his accomplices are attacking every institution and alliance that has made America the world's kind of premier leader, albeit imperfect, since World War II. Now, VPIRG's been around for 53 years, since 1972. We've seen a lot. We have experienced and witnessed acts of corruption and graft, and there have been some bad people who have held office, even the presidency of the United States. But we have not seen something quite like this. This is a kind of a blatant threat to our republic, and that is why we are taking on Democracy Summer this summer. So let's go to the next slide, because it's not all doom and gloom for us here. We have a bit of good news for you tonight. This is an incredibly resilient nation, an incredibly resilient people, and certainly that is true in Vermont. We've seen that in recent times, and we know how to win. We've been through many challenges before, and this is undoubtedly our biggest yet. But there is a formula that can help us get to a victory, I think, in this case. It starts by understanding that even a small group of people have the power to make a difference. Margaret Mead and many others have made that point, and it really is true. There is ample research from around the world that shows that a civil uprising against authoritarian leaders can be successful if in a peaceful protest, we can organize around 3.5% of the populace of that nation. 3.5% who are organizing in a peaceful way against an authoritarian leader, we've seen time and again, is enough power, enough influence to actually topple that authoritarian regime. And we think the same can be true here in Vermont. And let me put just a finer point on it. 3.5%, again, we're talking about peaceful protests. That has more power than a smaller group of violent protesters. And here in Vermont, where we have a population of around 650,000 people, what we're talking about at 3.5% of those, that number is somewhere short of 23,000 Vermonters. That is a doable thing for us. And of course, I think that there are many more. I mean, we've already seen rallies that if you added up all those people who have come together in different parts of the state on a single day, probably exceeds that number already. Now, I will say that people need to be mobilizing. They need to be showing up en masse to make a difference. And that's where VPIRG's Canvass is going to come in. We're going to be talking with thousands of people. Josh is excited. He has already been out there knocking on doors, and he's not alone. And we've had people out there. We're going to be talking to thousands more between now and the end of August or so. Now, we know we're not going to get each one of the people that we talk with to come out to rallies or attend statewide events, but we're going to do our part to try to connect with as many people as we can with the most powerful message we can, and with the kind of easiest way for people to engage successfully in this kind of campaign. So while we're talking about the Canvass, let me mention a few more things, because I think it's important to understand why and how the Canvass can be helpful to us in this moment. First, if you've never done it before, knocking on doors is hard. Internally, among ourselves, and now I'm going to share with you, we call it a character building experience. And it is not an easy thing to do. It can be intimidating to walk up to doors, homes you've never been to, people you've never met, places of the state you've never gone to before, and talk to them about policies and politics and the opportunity to make a difference. But that's what we need to do right now. Vermonters need to see and hear people who are willing to challenge the status quo. And many of them feel like the country's off on the wrong track. We know that. Polls show that. Conversations we have with folks know that. But they either don't know what to do or don't think that they can make a difference. A meeting a VPIRG canvasser at the door, I think, who can give them a way to get involved, I think it's a symbol, really, of the resistance. You know, these canvassers are going to be there showing them how they can make a difference, and demonstrating ways that, you know, that they can be involved successfully in a campaign like this. And that might be enough to get them off the couch and into the street. Let me tell you something. Courage is contagious. And There is nobody as courageous, I think, as our many canvassers who are going day after day, knocking on doors, having sometimes challenging experiences, willing to put it behind them and willing to say, the next door might be different, the next door might be better. I might find somebody who shares our values and is willing to get involved. And to experience that and demonstrate that persistence and courage is, to me, an incredibly inspiring thing. I was a canvasser 39 years ago. And I know what kind of person it takes to do that, and I am consistently impressed by the individuals, most of them young people here in the state who are knocking on doors for us. And I think this is an incredibly powerful force. It is going to make a real difference. So, what will VPIRG be canvassing on this year? Let's see, there it is. You've already seen the logo, but welcome to VPIRG's Democracy Summer. This is our campaign to embrace unity and to reject oligarchy. It's an ambitious summer campaign, and it will not be easy, but we're willing to step up to the challenge. And here's how we plan to make it all happen. So we're going to mobilize folks. As you can see, we'll be knocking on thousands of doors. We go into every single legislative district, every House and Senate district in the state will be knocking on doors this summer. Our goal is to collect 10,000 pledge signatures to grow this movement, organizing more than 50 events, activities, and actions throughout the state, and training leaders who will be willing to stand up to bullies in the White House and beyond. Why VPIRG? Well, we have come to the conclusion that we have a responsibility to fight back. Everything we do, this is public education, organizing, advocacy in the State House, voter engagement, voter registration, all of it is under attack right now. And we've been promoting democracy in various ways since 1972. We believe that we can make a difference. We've done it before, and we want to do it again. I think I'm turning things over. Is that right, Jordan? To my friend Josh?
That is so right. Thank you so much, Paul. And Josh, you are up.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say Paul definitely set me up well with the courage is contagious. That is the energy we need this summer. And I think I'm ready to talk about more on what exactly the summer canvas is. And the summer canvas is a lot of things, but I think the four most important aspects of it are what you all are seeing on your screen right now, starting with direct democracy. We like to say here in the Canvass office that canvassing is the last true form of direct democracy, especially in an age that is online, right? We're doing it by the book. We're building relationships face to face, person to person, one conversation at a time in every corner of the state. And that means something, especially when everything we're seeing online right now can be very frightening, it can be frustrating, it can be concerning. And Paul is right. People might not know what to do. That's why we're here. We're here to connect you with the resources that matter, that can have tangible impacts in your community today, next year, and for the foreseeable future. Yeah, and then another important aspect is training young organizers. A lot of our Canvass staff members are folks in their early 20s, late teens, people in college, people trying to find their voice, their ability to communicate, their ability to meet people in the world and find common ground. And it can be hard for young adults in today's modern age to feel like they have the place where their voice can be heard, or that they have the ability to have political impact in their community. That's what the Canvass is all about, is we're able to go across the state, knock on tens of thousands of doors every summer, and every summer those canvassers get to see almost an immediate impact that their work has had in the community. And not just that, they're then capable communicators and organizers, and whether, they go on to be state senators, or they go on to work for one of the federal delegates of Vermont, or they become a teacher, or they become a small business owner in Vermont. They are then able to communicate about their passion and intent for the future of Vermont, its environment, and its democracy for the rest of their careers. And that is an accolade that is beyond measure in my eyes. But we also offer a public awareness perspective when it comes to political movements. We have the largest door-to-door campaign in the entire state. Nobody else in the entire state talks to as many Vermonters as we do. With that public awareness comes the privilege and the honor and the responsibility of meeting the moment and delivering a message to Vermonters and communicating with them about things that impact their day-to-day lives. And that's another reason why Democracy Summer fits in so well right now. Nothing is as front of mind for Vermonters, and I see it every single day for the past week. And then lastly, grassroots engagement is the heart of VPIRG's mission. This is why we feel proud to say that we are Vermont's voice. We are supported by Vermonters, and we channel their voices into rooms where decisions are made, where they can be heard and responded to. Yeah, every summer we hire 50 to 60, mostly young adults who, feel political drive, and they have the energy, but they don't know how to utilize that energy. And we give them trainings on how to communicate, on where to go to organize, and how to have impact on the local political system and the statewide and the federal political system from the grassroots up, right? A bottom-up movement as opposed to a bottom-down movement that we're seeing coming out of the federal government right now. And then I'm ready for the next slide, Jordan. Thank you so much.
Hey, before you go to that, can you just go back to that for 1 second, Jordan? Just if you can see in the background there, and I know I'm jumping on your time, Josh, but just the dozens and dozens of canvassers in that photo, and one old person, me, in the front. But if you think about that every night, just those of you who are watching here now, think about that every night in the summer between now and mid to late August, no matter what that weather is, snow, sleet, hail, occasionally sun. Those people are out there knocking on doors, or people like them are out there knocking on doors and trying to make a difference. And I hold my breath every night, making sure that they all get home safe and well, and they do a fantastic job. But look at that energy that is there. That's part of what we're talking about. So I just wanted to kind of raise that up.
Yeah, great addition, Paul. Thank you so much. And it's a special anniversary for the VPIRG Summer Canvass. This is our 40th summer knocking doors across the state. And we've accomplished quite a lot in that time. We've been leading the charge. Again, going back to that public awareness campaign kind of work, we've been leading the charge on democracy, on environmental health, on climate and clean energy, and on consumer protection issues for all of those 40 years. And if you look again in the background of this slide, that is a photo of about 30 or 40 years worth of intergenerational canvassers coming together and celebrating the power that knocking doors and building relationship with communities across the state has the power to do. Some of those canvassers still work for VPIRG. Some of them, as I mentioned loosely earlier, work for other environmental organizations across the state, or state senators, or work for Seventh Generation, or other nonprofits across the country. And canvassing is just such a powerful tool to propelling both yourself but your community into a place of unity and connectedness. And the VPIRG Canvass gets it done, and we get it done in many different ways. And Paul kind of threw a spoiler out there. We do it rain or shine. We do it on foot, we do it on bike, and we do it camping as well. There is not a corner of Vermont that we do not reach. And, at certain points, various aspects have developed over 40 years of canvassing. We introduced our legendary bike fleet, I think, in the early 90s. And that is a marquee telltale sign that a VPIRG canvasser is coming up your driveway when someone has a clipboard in hand, maybe a backpack on, their hair is really sort of frazzled and everything, but they're smiling and they're happy to meet you. Yeah, it's just a tradition unlike any other that I've had the pleasure of interacting with in my life. And it's just really, I don't quite have the words to describe how moving seeing 50 young folks feel the energy of the moment and the energy of you all at the door. It moves us, but we're seeing that it also moves you. And I think with that, I'll transition to my last slide, which is the progress we've seen and done already. We've only been canvassing for a week, but in that week with about 14 canvassers, we've already knocked on 2,500 doors, and we're going to far surpass that tonight. And, we are going to build a staff this summer by about mid-June of 60 folks. And at that point, we will be knocking about 2,000 doors a day. So the tens of thousands of doors comments you may have heard is not hyperbole. And already in that week, we've gotten hundreds of pledges signed. We've identified new activists, folks who really align with this campaign. And we are building a grassroots movement one door at a time. And if you have been listening to this talk about the summer canvas and maybe feeling the joy of what it might mean for someone to engage with Vermonters in a really unique way, we're still building our office. We're still building our Canvass staff. So if someone might be interested in this job, I'm going to drop a link in the chat to our summer Canvass application, but you can also scan that QR code right there. And then I will turn it over to Jordan or Paul if anybody has any last thoughts on the Canvass.
No additional thoughts from me, Josh, but I am, as always, very inspired by your words and all of the work that you're doing. And same with you, Paul. It's great to have you both to tee up this conversation for me that I'm now going to jump into. And I will do just that unless either of you have anything else to share.
I'm all set.
All right, thank you. So I am so excited to share what we've got on tap happening outside of the summer Canvass effort. So let me just jump into our organizing and action plans right now. So the first thing you should know is that we have a new podcast series called Vermont's Voice, and I'm in that podcast studio in this very moment. And we have been interviewing folks from all around the state to talk about some of Vermont's most pressing issues. That work will continue throughout this campaign. So our latest episode with the Secretary of State is perfectly relevant to this conversation here and fully worth the listen if you have not checked that out yet. And that is just one example. We will have many more episodes to come. I also mentioned organizing just a moment ago. There will be a lot of that this summer. So the goal is to host as many meaningful opportunities for our members and communities as humanly possible. So things like art builds, rallies, parades, special community events, trainings, really whatever else might meet the moment and create value for Vermonters. And so with all of this comes the opportunity to connect with community members and activists that we haven't met before. We'll learn from one another, we will collaborate and take action together. So each week we will promote key opportunities that we can all mobilize towards. There will be a few that I plan to share with you in just a little bit. So what I just mentioned probably sounds like a lot to keep up with, and I totally get that. So we did launch a new site called democracysummervt.org, where you can find all of the latest podcast episodes, events, and action opportunities in one place. You can scan the QR code on your phone right now or click the link that Josh will be sharing in the chat. And just so you can all prepare yourselves, we've got a lot more QR codes and links coming your way. So thanks in advance for your patience there. So as I mentioned, there is a lot more coming soon. We are quite literally just getting started, but I do have a few action opportunities to share with you now. And again, they will all have those scannable QR codes and links shared in the chat. So first is an ask for you to take the pledge and defend and strengthen our democracy. Our goal, as you know, is to get at least 10,000 Vermonters on board this summer to sign the petition and continue taking action to embrace unity and reject oligarchy. If you've already signed the pledge, thank you. Now, if you could please share that link with at least 3 friends who have not yet signed, that would make a huge impact for us. Next, I hope you'll join us for an upcoming event. There are 3 that I would like to plug right now in this moment. So first, I'll be hosting a casual State House tour and lunch on the lawn next Thursday, May 22nd at 11:30 a.m. If the idea of visiting the Vermont State House both excites and intimidates you, or if you want to learn how our local legislators move towards progress during the session by seeing it live in action, then this gathering is for you. The goal here is to remove the mystery of local politics and leave you feeling empowered to take action in the future. So with that, I hope you'll register to join our tour next week, just before the session ends. Also, to put on your radar, please save the date for a Day for Democracy at the Alchemist Brewery in Stowe. We'll be there alongside other organizations to table, and there will be speeches from statewide officials, music, Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and of course, beer. Finally, on June 14th, there will be another nationwide rally in support of our democracy. We'll be participating personally at the Burlington waterfront location and plan to host an art build at our office a few hours beforehand. Details for both of those things are still shaking out, so stay tuned for more information on the rally and the Day for Democracy. So I will be following up with you all. Last, but certainly not least, if you have the means to financially support this campaign, your contribution would be deeply appreciated. VPIRG is a nonprofit organization that relies on donors of all sizes to keep this important work going. We appreciate your consideration on that, and of course, we also appreciate you simply being here, whether you're able to contribute at this time or not. And with that, that's what we've got for you tonight. We cannot wait to update you as this campaign progresses and look forward to your continued engagement. Again, you can access information relating to this campaign at democracysummervt.org and on our VPIRG social media accounts. You can also contact me directly if you'd like at jheiden@vpirg.org. And so now I think this is probably a good time to pivot over to our Q&A. If you would like to share any questions, thoughts, or ideas, you can feel free to do so in the Q&A box below. We will also be sharing a feedback form in the chat and also in our follow-up email if you feel like you need a little bit of time to gather your thoughts and reflect. But Josh, in the meantime, would you mind sharing anything that may have come in from the Q&A box thus far? I will stop sharing my screen now.
Yes. The first question is from Elijah from Burlington. He is curious, what can a small liberal state like Vermont do to move the needle with this administration?
Can I jump in on that?
Yeah, totally.
And there's a similar kind of question from looks like a former canvasser of ours, and that is wonderful to see. Thanks for tuning in. There are a few different answers. I mean, one, we know that we have a tremendous federal delegation when it comes to these issues, in Senators Sanders and Welch and Congresswoman Becca Balint. They are all kind of leading the charge, none more than Bernie, of course, who's out there across the country, speaking often in districts that have Republican representation in Congress, for instance. And he and AOC, Congresswoman AOC from New York, are having crowds, thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of people come out, even in areas where it's thought to be conservative, fighting with the idea that they need to fight the oligarchy. And so that is an idea that is popular in all parts of the country, is what we're seeing right now. And obviously the work in those areas is particularly important and strategic to send a message to people who are not maybe representing the best interests of their constituents right now. So while we have a federal delegation that is leading the charge in that effort, and I'm not suggesting that we need to convince them to do anything other than what they are doing right now, it's still important that they see movement and activity right here in Vermont as well, to support their efforts, to show them that we are behind them as they go out across the state, across the country, and in Washington, D.C., and represent the values that we share. So I think, one, sending that message is still really important in Vermont, to make that effort to show up. I was at the rally in early April at the State House with, I was 10,000 people or more. It also is good for your soul to show up and be a part of an effort like that. I've seen many smaller ones as well in communities across the state. And in a small town, and you get 200 people together, that too is a sense of community, of support, of energy that I think we all need. We are not alone in expressing the fears, the concern, the anger that we have, and to be together with others in finding common purpose and common ground, at least occasionally in these rallies and gatherings. I think that is incredibly important and useful to us as individuals and to the broader movement when we're thinking about affecting the federal level. We're also seeing, court cases, federal court cases here in Vermont. Again, I'm sure you've all seen those, where we've got federal judges in this state who are essentially providing some justice to people who have not been dealt with justly by ICE or other federal authorities so far when it comes to immigration practices and so forth. And I think showing up, as a number of demonstrations and rallies have been held outside federal courthouses, that too is an important sign, not just for those of us here in Vermont, but those images are carried nationally as well. And that is part of an effective effort, I think, to fight back and push back against what we're seeing now. It's also important, however, to demonstrate to those who are active in Vermont, even elected leaders in Vermont, who would like to carry forward what we might call a Trump agenda in this state, that we are not going to stand for that we will put up appropriate counter to those kind of efforts here. Now, we've seen it recently where the Trump's Justice Department filed suit against Vermont just in the last couple of weeks to try to kill the climate superfund legislation that VPIRG and many other organizations and individuals helped to pass just last year. This is a way to finally hold large fossil fuel companies accountable for the climate damages that they have caused here. And our own United States Justice Department is suing Vermont, taking the side of the oil industry against the best interests of the people here. It's important that we fight back against that. Yes, in the courtroom, but also in the state house and in communities around the state. There are legislators who are now trying to repeal the law. There are efforts to stop funding for it, so to prevent it from going forward. We need to push back against that kind of activity to show that we must continue to make progress on climate, on clean energy, on consumer protection, on healthcare, on democracy issues, and on down the line, to be a beacon of hope, you might say, against some of the things that we're seeing nationally. So we can continue to make progress here. And I think that is all really important. And finally, we got to also continue to support some of our state leaders, the treasurer, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, who has now filed, I think, 17 different lawsuits herself against actions that are of the Trump administration that are unconstitutional and illegal. They need to see this kind of support, and we will demonstrate that again in many different ways. Rallies and demonstrations is just one part of it, but we need to be showing up at different events in communities. I think we will have educational opportunities, chances to sit down with our local elected officials as well, not just in a rally setting, but in more small group communications with them so that they can hear from folks and hear what you want to see them doing at the state level. I think all of that is really important. That's the kind of engagement that we need to see.
Thank you, Paul. And then this one might be a good question for Jordan. Caroline asked, what will the canvassers mobilize for? How does VPIRG dovetail with other mobilizing efforts like Hands Off? How can other organizations support this effort best?
That is an excellent question, and I'll just start by touching on that 3.5% metric once more, because that's something that I carry closely with me. And I truly believe that what we are moving towards here is pushing the needle forward to strengthen our democracy, protect it, and show that we can be a leader. If we can do this thing, other states can follow suit. That's what we've done with so many other bills in the past, and Paul has just mentioned some of that as well. But when I think back to the Climate Superfund, I think of all the progress we were able to make because our little state of Vermont sort of led the path forward and really built a movement. And so I think that's what the plan is, for this campaign as well. And just really making sure that we are taking back our sense of freedom and what that means for literally everybody in the state and in the country, which is obviously no small feat. And there's a lot that we need to do to make that happen. But to the other question about the way that we're working with organizations, we are in very close collaboration with the folks who organized Hands Off, close collaboration with Indivisible and 5051 Vermont and all of the other organizations that are doing this organizing work, whether that is through a variety of Signal chats or, regular meetings, sort of on the ground work at community events. We're also working to put together a very democracy-focused coalition group at this point. So there will be lots of opportunities for other organizations to get involved with this. And if you know of any, my suggestion to you is to reach out to me and to make sure that we are all connected, because we cannot do this work alone. We will not be effective that way. And our plan is to get as many people involved and mobilized as humanly possible. So thanks for the question, and I hope that helps.
Some of that also just means we're these are not our events. We want to lend support. There are many excellent organizations doing tremendous work in this area. Some of the time we're just going to be supporting the good work and finding a way to help others be successful in work that they're doing. So we're not trying to claim any credit that is undue. We don't own this, but this is a part that VPIRG can play, and we do have certain strengths and capabilities that nobody else has in the state. But that's what we need: all of the organizations to give their best and do what they can do best.
Thank you, Jordan, and thank you, Paul. I believe those are all of the questions we have right now. So with that, I'm happy to let Jordan wrap us up if that feels appropriate.
That works for me, Josh. And if you are able to share that feedback form in the chat, I'm not sure if that is there yet. And if not, that's okay. I can also forward it via email, but want to make sure that as folks are thinking about this, they do have that opportunity to reach out to us with their ideas and thoughts and anything that we can do to be helpful. But that's pretty much all I have. And again, I just have on screen here the link and the QR code to our website, which is probably the easiest way to find out about all of the things that we've talked about today. And I'll just quickly zoom over to my email because I would love to hear from you. And I know we all would. And I'm happy to pass along the good word from you all to everybody. So I realize that it is a beautiful day out. It is 6:40 p.m. I so appreciate you being here with us and, just taking a moment to listen and to stay engaged and energized in this. And I so look forward to collaborating with each and every one of you as we continue on this summer and beyond. So thank you so much for your time, and we will be talking very soon. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.